Anytime we focus on a serial killer, we're talking about the worst of the worst. And this story is just that.
Police officers get 911 calls every day for small issues like a cat stuck on top of a tree branch. Sometimes, these calls can be deeply disturbing. There was one call that came from an abandoned house in Ohio, and it was a woman who called while her captor slept in the same room. On September 13, 2016, at around 6 a.m., a woman called from Ashland, Ohio. The woman's true identity is hidden, and the alias given to her is Jane Doe. Jane says she's been taken by Shawn Grate, who's sleeping in the same room in some abandoned yellow house. She doesn't know the number she's calling from, and Shawn is armed with a taser. Jane has no way of getting out, but somehow manages to free herself. The police are on their way, and Jane struggles to stay silent and hold back her tears. Suddenly, something goes very wrong, and the police officer hears something horrifying. The police officer hears the sound of a taser, and Jane tells her she woke him up. The officer calmly tells Jane to just put the phone down. 4 minutes of silence have passed by, and the officer decides to check up on her, to which Jane keeps asking how much longer. Luckily, there are police officers now in her area. Finally, Jane hears the police at her location, and she carefully makes her way out of the bedroom. She unlocks the side door, and a police officer escorts her out. Jane didn't have any clothes on and displayed symptoms of trauma. The officers then immediately went in and found the 40-year-old Shawn Grate sleeping face down and arrested him. Initially, the police had hoped this was the end of the case, but through proper investigations, they discovered something much darker. Shawn was sent over for interrogation, and the police realized how lucky Jane Doe is to be alive right now. The detective comes in and starts by asking Shawn to tell him the details of how he met Jane. This broad question allows the suspect to tell their version of the story. Shawn met Jane at the Kroc Center, where they had lunch, played some tennis, and spent some time together. Jane considered Shawn as an older brother, but Shawn wanted more than a friendship. She turned him down and wouldn't let him inside her apartment because of her religious boundaries. Shawn used to talk to Jane about marriage and got angry when she mentioned another man named Daniel, which is completely different from Jane's statement. The question is, if she's so conservative, then how is Jane talking about marrying a guy she knows for just a few weeks? Then, Shawn continues to reveal how she went to his place where she might have been assaulted. Shawn continues to say how Jane kept saying she'd marry him but refused later, which ended up with Shawn assaulting her. Jane says he took her to his place because he had some clothes to give her, but instead he tells her she's not going anywhere. She tried to defend herself by pushing him away and kicking him, but it didn't work. Shawn just chuckles and says he tied her down because he just wanted to spend some time with her and he cares about her. Shawn says he tied her legs, but Jane revealed he tied her neck in a weird position and told her if she tries anything she'd end up strangling herself. Then, the detective asks about another woman. The detective asks about Elizabeth Griffin, a woman suffering from schizophrenia. She's had therapy because she's had hallucinations almost every night and has set her hair on fire. The woman met Shawn 2 months ago and started missing her appointments, which was unusual. This caused her therapist to check her apartment. The detective tells Shawn she's missing, and it seems like Shawn knows something. What's even worse is the day Elizabeth went missing, she made 2 phone calls. One went to her friend, and the other to Shawn. Shawn keeps denying he has anything to do with Elizabeth, so the detective goes back to Jane. Shawn tells the detective he wanted Jane to leave. He had tied her hands in a way that would let her leave, but Jane testified that every time she moved, he would wake up and she wasn't even allowed to go to the bathroom on her own. The detective moves back to Elizabeth, and Shawn asks, since the police are searching the house, why haven't they found her yet? He then says, she's free, no more problems. She won't have to cry anymore. Later, another detective, Kim Majors, steps in with a different approach. Kim Majors comes in and starts giving Shawn positive feedback whenever he's honest by saying stuff like, "We all make mistakes," to get him to confess. She then shifts back to Elizabeth, saying he can help her mom find her. But Shawn mentions another girl in the woods of Mansfield, Candace Cunningham, who lived with Shawn for a while. Candace told her mother she was about to get married to the perfect man. Shawn says they had an argument and Candace kept attacking him, so he choked her to calm her down until she went limp. Shawn cooperates and leads the cops to the woods where he dumped her body. Now the detective follows up with a question to ask him who else they can find. Shawn talks about the house where he got arrested and reveals Elizabeth is in the closet upstairs. Major's tactic of being kind and emphasizing honesty seems to be working here, and the detective finds a pattern of Shawn's victims. They were mostly loners so that no one could report them missing who needed to talk to someone like a friend. Shawn explained Elizabeth couldn't sleep, so they played a game of Yahtzee and then went back to Shawn's place. They were joking around with Shawn's hand on her neck to mimic choking her, but then she started flipping out, so he went behind her and choked her. Then Shawn revealed there's another girl down in the basement of the same house. Major asks who it is, and Shawn says Stacy but can't remember her last name. Stacy has been trying to get rid of her heroin addiction and met Shawn at the gas station. One afternoon, she comes to Shawn's house and she reminds him of his mother, with whom he has some issues. Shawn suspected she kept lying to him, and just like with Jane, Shawn recorded his assault on Stacy, strangled her, wrapped her up, dragged her body down to the basement, and covered it with trash. Then Shawn tells Major about another old unresolved case, saying they've already found her. In 2007, a woman's remains were found in a wooded area in Marion County. In 2019, the police used DNA from the victim to identify the body as Dana Nicole Laurie, a 23-year-old mother of two who used to sell magazines. Dana tries to leave his bedroom, but Shawn strangles her to the point of her losing consciousness, after which Shawn grabs a knife and attacks her, leading to her death. Shawn later dumps her body and burns the blanket she was wrapped in. Detective Major comes back with another detective who's trying to solve another case, and Major asks Shawn if he has anything to do with it. Shawn immediately names the woman, Rebecca Lacey, and confirms he had problems with her too. Rebecca, like his other victims, was also dealing with some issues and was addicted to drugs. Shawn explained how she tried to rob him, and she became his second victim. Shawn explained she came to his store, and while he went to the bathroom, left his wallet out and found $4 missing. Shawn strangled Rebecca unconscious too, and got his money from her pocket. Then, Shawn describes Rebecca gaining consciousness, after which he beat her up and choked her. Shawn used a golf cart and golf carrying bag to get rid of her body in an empty spot by a tree. He had heavily drugged her body to make it look like a case of a drug overdose. Following his confessions, Shawn was taken to court and sentenced to death. He is currently scheduled to be put to death in 2025. What are your thoughts about the case of Shawn Grate? Let us know in the comments section below. If you enjoyed today's video, then make sure to leave us a thumbs up, and don't forget to subscribe to our channel and click on the bell icon to always be updated with the most exciting content as soon as it's uploaded. Thanks for watching. See you again soon in another video.